Our St. Vincent de Paul Society has been blessed through the years to work and collaborate with so many people of goodwill. It's so important for our community to come together in a powerful way to make a difference, to make our community a better place. And joining me today is Rabbi Jordan Goldson. Welcome to the show, Rabbi.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for all you do for our community.
Well, I'm glad to be here and great to spend this time with you. So thanks for inviting me.
Well, B'nai Israel congregation, the synagogue's right around the corner from
Just down the street, down the street.
And a place that's rich in tradition and faith. And tell us a little bit about your faith journey, your faith life.
That allows me to reminisce, you know, and I think back to my days as a young person. And I grew up on Long Island, New York. And you say there are a lot of, Jewish people on Long Island. People think about New York, but actually there were really only 10 Jews in my high school.
Really?
Yeah, and it was a very, very large Italian Catholic community out there. So most of my friends were Italians more than Jews. So my parents, who grew up more towards New York City, yes, and it was less suburban, had more of a sort of traditional Jewish upbringing.
Yes.
And as they moved out, many Jews moved out to the suburbs because it was affordable, and they could have a very nice, relaxed way of life. Synagogues started to sprout up just about in every town.
Great.
And in particular, Reform, liberal synagogues, which were based more on prophetic Judaism, on the idea of, we have to find ways to change the world, than on just sort of like strict observance of customs and rituals that will help us to maintain our connection to God and to the covenant. So I went to a synagogue in Stony Brook, New York. Actually, we have this love-hate relationship with Stony Brook because of the baseball. We just beat them 17-3.
That's
so
right. Yes,
we're in good graces at the moment.
That's correct.
Anyway, that's my hometown, and it was a small synagogue, and we went every Friday evening to services. And then I went to religious school twice a week. So it was an important part of my family's life.
Right.
I wouldn't say that we were, when I was at home, we were talking about God, or we were, religious in that way, as many Jewish families are. But we did go to synagogue. It was an important part of our family custom.
Right.
And we were socially connected to the Jewish community through the synagogue.
Right. And what drew you to pursue religious life?
Well, honestly, I used to go on Friday nights, and I would sit there with my parents, and as a young person, going to an evening service, by 7, 8 o'clock you're spent.
Right.
And I can remember being sleepy, but in those days we had a beautiful cantor, who would sing. We had a choir and an organ. There was the style of the day. And I would just listen to the music and listen to the Hebrew. I didn't even know what it meant. And it just sort of went into my soul. I can't really explain it other than it made me feel good and spiritual.
Right.
And so I never complained about going. Maybe children will say, why do we have to go tonight? I think I had a sense of God and spirituality, the prayers, listening to the words.
Right.
I feel that Hebrew is a holy language, and sort of that hearing that and connecting to it was important to me. And I don't think that I knew the power of it till I went to college. Yes. And now I was on my own, and I had to decide, am I going
Right.
for me, or am I going for my parents?
Right.
Do I just go to? I went to Tulane actually, and I was doing. Do I just go out dancing at on Friday nights out at Fat City, right?
Yes, yes.
Or do I find some way to continue my practice? And I did. I found a few other students, and we started having a service at Hillel. There with the rabbi, and it became something that was important to me, saying the prayers that I was familiar with, learning more about them from an adult perspective, and now beginning to question, what God means to me, what my religion means to me, and that really was what sort of brought me to exploring the possibility of becoming a rabbi and becoming ultimately a leader in the Jewish community.
So how long has it been since you became a rabbi? How long have you?
I was ordained in 1987.
Yes, Rabbi.
So a little over 30 years.
That's great.
In our movement, after 25 years, they give you a doctorate, Doctor of Divinity.
Yes.
And it's an honor, to get this doctorate. But it really just means that you survived 25 years in the rabbinate.
Yes,
We often refer to it as it's a DD.
Yes.
Is the degree.
Yes,
so we just say it's didn't die. We continued on.
Survived.
We survived.
God brought us
because
through.
being in congregational life is challenging, as you know. We're working with the public, working with volunteers, working to try to create something that's meaningful and relevant as the world changes.
Right.
Dealing with the challenges of our world is challenging. So, it's important that rabbis and ministers, priests, imams, religious leaders get together and work together to try to make the world a better place.
Well, at St. Vincent de Paul, we really focus on God's love. How can we spread that? How can we really spread goodness throughout the world? And I'm hearing from you that after 30 years plus, that's kind of something that has inspired you to kind of, and a lot of challenges in today's world, a lot different than 1987. As you've God's just there for you to kind of be your strength. It sounds like you've grown stronger in getting that DD than you're way down that spiritual journey.
We call ourselves Reformed Jews, right?
Yes,
And reform is a verb. There's constant change.
Yes.
And we're constantly evolving and trying to reinvent ourselves. We have to reinvent ourselves, and our community has gone through tremendous change.
Yes,
as the whole religious world has, right? If you look at the Pew poll surveys, less and less people seem to be interested in religion or going to worship. And the question is, well, what does it mean to be a religious community today?
Right.
And we are constantly asking those questions. Is it just showing up in a building and saying the prayers? Is that what is going to bring people a sense of purpose and that connection to God? Or is it getting out in the community and doing worthwhile social justice work, right? Or is it just being together as a community and creating a sense of goodwill and friendship, fellowship? And I think there's a little bit of all of that, right? So we're sort of working on the three legs of the stool, if you will. Our connection to St. Vincent de Paul, of course, was spurred on by us wanting to do something more in the community, in particular around Thanksgiving. And we created this program that we call the Turkey Train.
That's right.
Where we have on the Sunday before Thanksgiving, or a Sunday before Thanksgiving, we ask everyone to bring in one or more frozen turkeys that we collect.
That's right.
And I don't know it's grown over the years. I don't know, now we're bringing in 120 or 130 turkeys or so.
Every year, enough to feed all of Baton Rouge, the capital city. When you think of Thanksgiving, you think of thankfulness. You think of, it's so important in our spiritual journeys that we show that thankfulness for all the many blessings in our lives. And I tell you, your congregation's done a super job.
Well, all the kids are sitting at home having turkey. We want them to understand that they're able to actually feed others in the community who don't have the blessings that they have. So that's something that we're happy to do. It's one of our favorite things to do during the year.
And when you were saying balancing, that's part of balance, is how can we make an impact in the community? How can we take our faith and really, in a very profound way, touch others who may need those blessings, that fortunate, that's the best way to be thankful, is to show your thankfulness by giving, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'd love to see us do more of this in an interfaith effort.
Yes.
And I'll share with you, when I was involved in my congregation in Stony Brook, my mother was Harry Chapin's secretary. I don't know if you remember Harry Chapin, right? His wonderful music.
Yes.
Well, he devoted his life to an organization that he started called World Hunger Year. Why?
Yes.
Because in the 1970s, the idea of world hunger was paramount. And it seems like there isn't enough food to go around.
Right.
We know there is enough to go around today. We just have to figure out how to get it to people, right?
Yes, right.
But in those days, we weren't quite sure, and we thought maybe we should grow soybeans. And we began, through his organization, to work with local churches.
Yes, Rabbi.
To have afternoons on a Sunday afternoon after the church was finished, where we would have like a symbolic meal.
Yes.
And we would divide up, and everyone had a role to play. So some people had food, some people didn't. You were from different parts of the world.
Right.
And this idea of feeding the hungry, feeding the disadvantaged, and doing that, though, not just with our own community, but with the wider community, was so much more powerful.
Right.
And I'd love to be able to see us do something like the turkey train, or maybe even the turkey train if there's a need.
Yes.
With a number of congregations.
Right.
And so that it's a joint effort.
Yes.
And that really brings the community, the religious community, together.
And bringing community together is why it's so important. For a community to prosper, we must work together to come together to make the world a better place. And when we come back, we'll continue our discussions with Rabbi Goldson and discuss the importance of spreading God's love throughout our community. The Society of St. Vincent de Paul's first cookbook, Taste and See, is the gift which helps share the goodness of the Lord with those most in need. Featuring recipes from Chef John Foles, each chapter begins with a short story about one of our special work programs. To order your copy of Taste and See, please call the Society or visit our website. Help multiply blessings for the neediest in our community. Baton Rouge is a great place to call home, and it's a great place to call home because of all the special people that make Baton Rouge what it is. And it's caring, compassion, people that come together, people that want to make our community a better place. And joining me today is Rabbi Jordan Goldson of B'nai Israel Synagogue and Congregation. Welcome to the show again. Thank you so much for sharing your spiritual journey. On the show, recent episode, we talked with some others that talked about the destination. In other words, when we're on our spiritual journey, it just seems like when we get to where we think we want to be, we've got another step to take in our own spiritual growth. Do you feel that? And also, those in your congregation, helping them take those spiritual steps, is that an important part of faith life?
Sure. Well, it's always nice to feel that we've arrived already, but we all know that there's so much to learn. And one of the things that you asked earlier about sort of my spiritual journey. And in the non-Jewish community, there's often like a real focus on faith and relationship to God. In the Jewish community, that doesn't just happen in prayer and meditation, but will often happen through study.
Right.
And really, the reason that I went to rabbinic school wasn't so much that I felt such a draw to God that, oh, I want to go serve you, God,
Right.
but that I really wanted to learn more about the wisdom of the rabbis and my tradition, which I thought would guide me
Right.
in sort of bringing me closer
Right.
to God and to my sense of spirituality. And so throughout my life, Jewish study has been really important. When we sit down and we study texts with others,
Yes.
usually not just alone, but studying with others and having conversations about, well, what do you think this means? What does it mean to be compassionate? You know, are we supposed to understand the text literally or metaphorically here, right? And what does God expect of us as it comes through the lesson of the text?
Right.
Then I feel empowered and I feel more connected.
Right.
The word, you know, in ancient times, when there were sacrifices in the temple, the word for a sacrifice was korbanot. The word korbanot is the root of it means to bring near, to draw near. And so the question is, what is it that draws us nearer to God? There's so many distractions, right? To sit here with my screen, right, looking at my feed,
Yes.
right, and I'm not thinking about what's happening inside me internally,
Yes, Rabbi.
right, spiritually, or what's happening outside me that I can actually have an effect on. And through study, through a sense of community that has a purpose,
Yes, Rabbi.
we actually feel closer to God and have a sense that there is a God that has a mission in this world, that the world was created in a way that was not complete, and it's our role to be agents in helping to complete it.
And that's a beautiful way of saying it. We are all an agent. And in the world today that we live, it seems like there are not enough agents. And I guess the only way we can make things better and come together. Sometimes I love the local news, I love the national news, but I don't want to watch it because of some of the things. It's not what you just talked about. It's not agents of good. It's not agents of compassion. It's agents of things that, are just so foreign to goodness, compassion, love, God, understanding how we can shape the world. And I mean, what would your guidance be in a time where instead of people coming together and embracing their differences, there seems to be this hatred and this division here and there. What would your message be to bring everybody together?
I think we need to find forums to be able to listen to each other.
Yes, Rabbi.
And we need to find some way of saying, okay, these are the guidelines, right?
Yes, Rabbi.
And the guidelines are take some time to really listen. You can have your own opinions. They can be different. That's fine. But just listen and hear what somebody has to say. Then we can question each other. Right? And we could do that in a way where we're not trying to dehumanize each other,
Yes, Rabbi.
right?
Yes.
Or to hurt other people, or to try to gain power over other people.
Right. Yes,
but we're
Rabbi.
really trying to understand. We're not going to solve the problems of the world because there is one group that's powerful and there's another that's weak.
Right.
It's only going to be when we lift everyone up together. Yes. And I just really think that's going to happen through conversation and discussion. And the problem has been that, right, we're all separate. We don't want, you're a Republican. Well, I'm a Democrat. We're not going to talk.
Right.
We don't talk politics.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Or we're not going to talk religion.
Right.
Or differences about issues, whether it's abortion or climate change or whatever it is.
Right.
Sometimes when we can just talk to each other and realize, okay, we have differences of opinion.
Right.
But we can still break bread together. We can,
Right.
we're still the same in so many ways.
Right.
It lessens the tension, that
Right.
we seem to be burdened by right now. I mean, this is a really dark time, but I think
really
it's so much so because at a time when it's the easiest
Right.
in world history to communicate, for some reason we're not able to communicate in a meaningful
That's
way.
right. That's exactly right. And I hear your call, because your call is for us all to be agents of change, agents of good, agents of making the world a better place. And you're right. The tools today that we have to communicate, and if those were messages of love, messages of communication, messages of dialogue, that's what you're discussing right now.
But I mean, I'm inspired every day by looking at people and what they're doing in their lives, the causes that they're choosing to
Right.
embrace.
Right.
And people are making a difference.
That is correct,
Right?
yes.
We have, I can only speak for the Jewish community, we have so many leaders in the Jewish community who I think are doing amazing work.
Right.
They may not even step into the synagogue but once or twice a year.
Right.
Right? But I'm proud of them that they're out there
Right.
doing what
Right.
they're doing.
Right.
But we need to share that message, that let's all learn from each other, let's all
Right.
do more together, and we need to create that sense of togetherness, that sense of ecumenicism, if you will.
That's right. That's right. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more with Rabbi Goldson about how together the capital city can really make a difference, and that we can all become agents of change here locally by working together, by dialoguing, and by coming together for the common good right when we come back. For over 20 years, the St. Vincent de Paul Community Pharmacy has served our area. We provide prescription medicines for those who have nowhere to turn for this most basic healthcare need. Please, if you need your medicine or you know a family member that needs their medicine, contact us. Kay, how can they get in touch?
383-7450.
Give us a call today and spread the word so that we can ensure no one goes without their prescription medication. Each of us are on a spiritual journey where we hunger for more, hunger to grow spiritually, hunger to be that agent of change that we've been talking with Rabbi Goldson about. Rabbi, we talked a little bit about the turkey train, about impacting other people's lives, making a difference, sharing God's blessings with those in need, and by doing so, being an agent of change. But we've got a hunger internally for more, and that's what you were talking about. There's a lot of good in the world. It's for us to identify that good, then dialogue together, and try to build a community that's unified going forward, and that in itself will help the world grow, correct?
Absolutely, but there are many different portals, right, to get involved in this. And you were talking about the religious school, and Turkey Train is one of them.
Yes.
When a kid has a turkey, or actually 120 turkeys that's passed to them,
Yes.
and then passed on, and they know it's going in a van, it's going to St. Vincent de Paul, and they see it's on
That's it.
TV,
Yes.
right? They feel that they did it, even though they only
Yes.
did one little piece of it,
Yes.
right? So, our kids that come on Sunday mornings,
Yes.
they feel a love for their religious school, their religious education, but it's not only about about God, but it's about sacred scripture. It's about kindness and doing good in the world, and also about trying to figure out what's important to us. I started today by talking about my journey.
Right.
Everybody has a journey.
That's right.
And everybody's journey needs to be nurtured, and to not just feel that there's only one path.
Right.
Right? There's so many different paths. And if we're open to that,
Yes.
right, then we can guide people to the best direction that is good for them.
Well, spreading love is something that I think is just so important. And whether it's a turkey or whether it's going out and volunteering, like so many of your congregation through the course of the year, like I said earlier, I've seen you with the knives, with the turkey, and getting into it with other community leaders. But it's what we all have to ask ourselves a question: what can I do to make the world a better place? And that is part of that spiritual journey, is it not?
It is, and I think that's a question we continually ask ourselves.
Right.
You know, what is my purpose? Right? And so if my purpose is to get up on a Saturday morning and go pound nails at Habitat for Humanity.
Great. Yes.
Right? A great thing to do, right?
Yes.
If it's about teaching or studying, or or attending services or singing, right, and praying, then that also can, help us to make a difference. You know that I'm involved with the Interfaith Federation here. I think I'll give them a plug.
Yes,
because I think they do a fantastic job in this community. I'd love to see more churches. Reverend Robin does a fantastic job, and I think if we have more churches, synagogues, mosques, come together to really create relationship.
Yes.
We can do anything we want to accomplish.
Because God is behind it all, and like you said,
God wants us to do that, right?
That's it. That's what we're called to do it. And you did such a great.
The metaphor is the mountain, right? There are many paths up the mountain to get to God on top of Mount Sinai.
And we need each other to get up there.
Absolutely.
And that's the only way we're going to do it. Well, Rabbi, I just want to thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, and God bless and all the good work that you're doing over at St. Vincent de Paul.
Well, thank you. Your congregation's awesome. They have an awesome rabbi, and they're very, very blessed to have your leadership and your spiritual strength, and we thank you for everything you've done for our community. And I want to just say to the general audience that B'nai Israel congregation, they're great, and every Thanksgiving for many, many years, they have ensured that everyone in our community has a wonderful Thanksgiving feast. It's something that I know I'm thankful for here locally, is their wonderful congregation, their wonderful rabbi, and we want to really express our deep appreciation for them, all of their congregation, and most importantly, the care and the compassion that they've shared with thousands through the years. There are certain things we can all do as agents of change. They've done it, and our message to you is to get involved, make our community a better place, and do what you can to spread God's love throughout our community and throughout the world. We'll see you again next week on Beacons of Light.